When someone ignores you, you lose nothing. What really happens is that you discover the truth. That painful silence is not a punishment, it's a revelation that uncovers reality. You should never have chased after someone who didn't have the courage to stay. Rejection doesn't take away from you, it harshly shows you who you never needed in your life. The most common mistake is to let anxiety and ego take control, reacting with compulsive messages, insinuations, or desperate attempts to be seen. But that only feeds the illusion that your worth depends on others. Stoicism goes in the opposite direction. It teaches you that true strength lies in self-control, in not giving your peace to anyone, in maintaining calm even when the absence of the other resonates. Here, the point is not to beg for attention. It's to use that emptiness as a training for your character. Every time someone walks away, you have in your hands the possibility to grow or to sink. And that decision is not made by rejection, you make it. Because what defines your life are not the answers that didn't arrive, but what you did with the silence they left behind. This video is not cheap consolation or a "everything will be okay" speech. It's a call to wake up, to stop depending on external validations, to redirect your energy towards the only thing that will never abandon you, your own character. Here, you will find 8 lessons that are not empty theory. They are daily practices to toughen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and turn what others would call defeat into the beginning of your victory. 1. Make silence your most powerful response. Silence is like an invisible wall that rises amid the noise. It can't be seen, it can't be touched, but it protects. When you choose to remain silent instead of reacting, you build a wall that not only stops the attack from others, but also reflects the strength within you. The world is accustomed to immediacy, to impulsive responses, to explosions of words that demonstrate anxiety and weakness. But when you face rejection and decide not to utter a single word, what you do is disarm the other. The one who expected to see you beg or insist is met with a void they cannot control. And that void, your silence, becomes a stronger blow than any explanation. Stoicism teaches us that what hurts us are not the facts themselves, but how we choose to interpret them. Someone decides to ignore you, doesn't respond to your messages, or drifts away without reasons. Your first impulse is to claim, insist, make clear that it hurts. But what do you achieve with that? Only to show that your peace depends on the reaction of another person. Silence, on the other hand, is the demonstration that your worth is not in the hands of others. Keeping silence is not weakness, it's discipline. It's not about empty pride, it's about saying with actions what words could never express, that you have control over yourself. Noble silence is not forced indifference, it's a conscious weapon. Keeping quiet doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you choose not to waste yourself on useless explanations. When someone ignores you, responding with words is like adding fuel to the fire of their ego, because you show that they still have power over you. Instead, if you choose to remain silent, you let the situation sink under its own weight. Silence cuts the chain that ties your dignity to the validation of others. You don't have to prove anything, you don't have to convince anyone. Your calmness is enough. The one who keeps silent at the right time is not someone who gives up, it's someone who rises above provocation. Silence doesn't seek revenge or intend to hurt. It seeks to show yourself that your energy is too valuable to waste on those who don't appreciate it. And this is where silence becomes an exercise in personal power. It teaches you not to react impulsively, to stand firm when the mind wants to scream, to contain anger and transform it into serenity. In everyday life, applying this lesson is not as complicated as it seems. The next time someone tries to manipulate you with their absence, take a deep breath, put your phone aside, and don't respond. If at work, someone belittles you with gestures of indifference, don't fall into the trap of justifying yourself. Respond with results, not with words. If in your relationship someone tries to measure your worth with their silence, show them with your calm that you don't play at that level. Noble silence is the highest declaration of self-respect. It's not running away, it's not cowardice, it's the silent affirmation that you are not a slave to reaction. It's looking at rejection and responding with serenity, like someone who knows that nothing external can tear down what they've built within. Because in the end, noise is made by those who lack control, while silence belongs to those who have already mastered their mind. 2. Redirect your energy towards your personal growth. The energy you waste chasing someone who ignores you is like water spilled on sand. It seeps away, leaving no trace, and all that remains is a feeling of emptiness. Each unanswered message, each attempt to be seen, is a liter of your vital force disappearing into a place where nothing grows. However, when you decide to channel that same energy towards yourself, a brutal change occurs, because you stop watering a desert to start nourishing your own garden. Rejection hurts because we interpret it as a loss of value, but the truth is that the only thing you lose when someone walks away is time and attention. Stoicism insists that the only things under your control are your thoughts and actions, never the reactions of others. If someone ignores you, that does not belong to your sphere of dominion, but what you do with the emotion it provokes does depend on you. And there lies the key. Transform frustration into discipline, convert anxiety into effort, use what seemed like a wound as fuel to grow. Think of it this way. If you have the strength to insist with 10 messages, you also have the strength to do 10 more repetitions at the gym. If you can spend hours checking profiles to see if someone gave you signals, you can also invest that same time in reading a book that expands your mind or in a project that brings you closer to the life you want. It's not a lack of energy that stops you, it's the wrong direction in which you're pouring it. When you redirect your energy, you don't do it to prove anything to others. You do it because you understand that the only validation you need is your own. Your progress, your habits, your silent achievements are the reflection that you learned the lesson. It is in those moments when you focus on your daily discipline, when you realize that rejection was a disguised blessing, because it returned all the energy you were giving to someone who never knew how to appreciate it. This has an immediate impact on your daily life. Start by creating a routine that forces you to move forward, even when the mind wants to distract itself with thoughts of absence. Train your body, because physical strength reinforces mental fortitude. Study something new, because each acquired knowledge is one more brick in the construction of your security. Dedicate time to your creativity, because art and writing not only express what you feel, they also transform your pain into clarity. The mistake of many is to believe that rejection should be fought by seeking substitutes, filling the void with other people, or empty distractions. That's another way to waste energy. What really changes the game is using that same impulse to improve yourself. If you think about it coldly, every time someone ignores you, they give you a gift, the gift of redirection. You decide whether to throw it away in anger or turn it into growth. In the end, redirecting your energy is not revenge, it's evolution. Because there is no greater response to rejection than personal transformation. When others expected you to sink, you chose to build yourself. That decision not only gives you back power, it also makes the difference between those who live trapped in the validation of others and those who learn to be self-sufficient. Remember this: no one can ignore the one who grows in silence, because sooner or later, the light of their own progress becomes impossible to hide. 3. Clearly analyze what that person really contributed. A foggy mirror does not reflect the truth, it only shows distorted shadows of what we believe we see. This happens when someone ignores us or moves away. The mind, fogged by emotion, creates an illusion, idealizes what never was, and exaggerates what barely existed in reality. Rejection hurts so much not because of what is lost, but because of the story one invented about that person. And this is where Stoic discipline comes in, to clean the mirror, remove the steam of idealization, and coldly look at what that relationship really contributed. The most common mistake is to believe that the one who left was indispensable, that without their presence, life is incomplete. But if you look at it from reason, what were you really receiving? Respect, genuine support, or just small crumbs of attention that you confused with affection? Stoicism teaches that the truth is not hidden in what you desire, but in what you observe without adornments. Clarity is an act of courage, because you don't always like what you're going to find, but it's always what sets you free. When you analyze without filters, you realize that many times that person did not give as much as you thought. Maybe they provided moments of distraction, perhaps some superficial company, but did they build with you? Did they share principles, values, a common vision of life? If the answer is no, then the absence is not a loss, it is a cleansing. It is the elimination of a burden that you confused with support. The anxious mind tends to magnify selective memories. It stays with the few times you received attention and erases all signs of indifference. This distortion is what maintains attachment. That's why Stoic analysis demands that you write down what really happened, that you note the facts and not the fantasies. Remember the indifference, the times you were not in their priorities, the moments when they minimized your value. This exercise is not to generate hatred, but to dispel the illusion. Applying this practice in daily life means stopping the cycle of idealization. When the mind starts to remind you what you miss, respond with facts. What did that person do for you when you needed them? Did they treat you consistently? Did their actions confirm their words? Each honest answer weakens the narrative of attachment and strengthens your understanding that you deserve more than you were receiving. Cold analysis does not kill the memory, it kills the lie you built around it. And that is the basis of your freedom. Because when you accept the truth as it is, the need to chase what never belonged to you disappears. What at first seemed rejection becomes a clear revelation. That person did not contribute what your mind said. They contributed only what your emotions needed to imagine. The Stoic is not afraid to see the naked truth, even if it hurts. They face it because they know that only from clarity can strength be born. If you understand what that person really contributed, you stop looking for value in their presence and recover it in yourself. Because in the end, the real deception was not that someone ignored you, but that you distorted their importance. And once you recognize that, the power returns to your hands. 4. Surround yourself with influences that strengthen your mind. The mind is like fertile ground, and what you sow in it eventually grows sooner or later. If you fill it with weeds, with negative voices, with influences that weaken your character, no matter how hard you try, you will end up trapped in a garden that suffocates you. On the other hand, if you choose to surround yourself with strong seeds, with solid examples, with people and environments that propel you upwards, what blooms is a firm, clear life, resistant to rejection. The environment is not a detail, it is the foundation on which your inner strength is built. When someone ignores you, one of the most common reactions is to desperately seek to fill the void with any company, even if it is toxic or superficial. That choice is a trap, because you end up surrounded by voices that feed your insecurity instead of strengthening your spirit. Stoicism insists that no one achieves virtue isolated from external influences. You need internal discipline, yes, but also a circle that reflects what you want to become. Ask yourself seriously, do the people around you elevate your character or wear it down? Do their words drive you to grow or drag you into complaint, comparison, and self-destruction? Analyzing this is uncomfortable because it forces you to recognize that often the pain you feel not only comes from the one who ignored you, but also from the constant noise of those around you. And if you're not careful, you end up listening more to those external voices than to your own reason. Surround yourself with those who remind you of your worth even when you doubt it. People who do not feed your ego, but your discipline. Friends who do not give you false pats on the back, but challenge you to be stronger, to get up when you want to give up, to be silent when anxiety asks you to scream. Because in the end, what you absorb from your environment becomes your own internal language. The Stoic practice here is clear. Seek influences that embody the strength you want to build. It could be a mentor, a friend, a book that challenges your mind, even routines and environments that do not allow weakness to settle in you. Avoid circles that feed on complaint and drama, because even if you do not notice, they end up shaping your way of reacting. Rejection hurts more when you surround yourself with those who magnify it, but it becomes a lesson when you are with those who relativize it and teach you to transform it. In everyday life, this means choosing carefully where you invest your time and attention. Dedicate more hours to deep conversations than to empty chats. Invest more in experiences that elevate your character than in distractions that wear it down. Fill your space with readings that challenge you, with exercises that strengthen you, and with environments that remind you that you were not born to crawl behind anyone. Rejection is not faced in absolute solitude, it is faced with the right company. That company can be external, in the form of people who elevate your spirit, or internal, in the form of ideas and principles that do not break even if everything around you does. The important thing is that you understand that your mind is a reflection of what you allow into it. If you surround yourself with noise, you will live confused. If you surround yourself with strength, you will learn to get up faster every time you fall. That is the choice that defines your path, because you are not only what you think of yourself, you are also what you absorb from what surrounds you. And if you decide to surround yourself with greatness, sooner or later, your spirit will begin to reflect it. 5. Assert your worth without relying on external validation. A diamond does not lose its value because someone does not look at it, nor does it lose its shine because someone ignores it in a display case. Its essence does not depend on the gaze of others, and the same goes for you. The problem is that we have been trained to measure ourselves based on the reaction of others, as if the absence of response meant that we ceased to be important. This mistake is the root of insecurity and dependence, because it puts your value in the hands of those who do not have the ability to recognize it. When someone ignores you, the first thing that appears is doubt. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Should I change so that they notice me? This chain of questions is the poison that keeps you tied to external validation. And it is right here where Stoicism hits hard. Your value cannot depend on what another thinks, because that is beyond your control. The only thing you can govern is how you see yourself, what principles you uphold, and what actions you take each day. Assert your worth not with empty words, but with deeds that back it up. If you say you are disciplined, show it in your routine. If you say you are strong, show it in your ability not to crumble when someone walks away. If you say you respect yourself, prove that you are not willing to lower yourself with pleas or behaviors that make you feel less. Real validation does not come from the outside. It comes from your internal consistency. The Stoic does not need applause. He needs to stand firm in his own judgment. Marcus Aurelius said it, "The value of each man lies in what he thinks of himself." And that phrase comes to life when you understand that whoever ignores you is not measuring your worth. They are just showing their limits. Rejection does not mean that you are not enough. It means that for that particular person, you are not a priority. And that does not define who you are. It only reveals what the other cannot see. In practical life, asserting your value means acting like someone who knows what they deserve. It means not sending compulsive messages seeking attention, not exposing yourself on social networks waiting for crumbs of recognition, not changing your essence just to fit into someone else's mold. It means repeating to yourself with daily actions that you are enough, that your inner peace is worth more than any fleeting validation. Exercise not to prove that you can impress, but to honor your body. Study not to show off titles, but to expand your mind. Work in silence, not to receive praise, but to grow at your own pace. The danger of depending on external validations is that you become a slave to applause. One day you feel strong because you receive attention, and the next you collapse because that attention disappeared. Your self-esteem becomes an uncontrollable roller coaster, but if you learn to assert your value from within, no one can take that stability away from you. You can lose people, jobs, environments, but you will never lose the certainty of who you are and what you represent. In the end, asserting your value is an act of rebellion against the system of emotional dependence that we were taught from a young age. It is deciding that you are not going to live waiting for someone else to validate you, but that you are going to live building the best version of yourself, even if no one applauds it. Because like the diamond, your value is not measured by how many look at it, but by the essence you carry within, intact and firm, even in the most absolute silence. 6. Avoid behaviors that chain you to the ego. Fire can give warmth, but when it gets out of control, it devastates everything in its path. This is how the wounded ego works when someone ignores or rejects you. If you let it rule, it becomes a flame that consumes your dignity, your energy, and your mental clarity. Every impulse to insist, claim, or seek attention is like throwing more wood on that internal fire. What starts as a spark of pain ends in an excessive fire that traps you and does not let you move forward. The ego disguises itself as pride and convinces you that acting immediately is the right thing to do. It whispers to you that sending one more message is showing interest, that posting an indirect comment is venting, that compulsively checking social networks is simple curiosity. But each of these acts is an invisible chain that ties you to someone who has already moved away. You believe you are defending your worth, but what you are really doing is giving it away because your peace depends on what someone else does or does not do. Stoicism teaches that freedom lies in mastering impulses, not in obeying them. This means that in the face of rejection, your biggest test is not to convince the other person, but to govern yourself. Every time you decide not to check if they are online, you cut a link in the chain. Every time you choose not to send an unanswered message, you regain some dignity. Every time you avoid posting something to attract attention, you strengthen your character. Avoiding behaviors that chain you to the ego is not feigned indifference, it is conscious discipline. The anxious mind seeks movement, any action that soothes the void. But not all movement is progress. Sending compulsive messages, seeking immediate substitutes, is moving in circles within the same prison. Instead, resisting these impulses is building the exit. It is showing that your calm is worth more than an empty response. Rejection stops being torture when you understand that what hurts you is not the other person's silence, but your own reaction to it. Applying this in practical life requires observation. When you feel the urge to stalk, breathe, and ask yourself, "What do I gain from this?" The answer will always be nothing. When you want to send another explanation, remember that dignity is not negotiated in unanswered messages. When your pride urges you to show that you are still there, remember that the real demonstration is in not giving in to that temptation. Each decision not to act from the ego is a training in internal strength. Rejection is not the real enemy. The enemy is the ego that makes you believe you need to react to not feel less. The Stoic understands that each absence is an opportunity to train self-control, and that training, repeated day after day, makes you someone who does not depend on external approval to feel at peace. The ego wants chains, reason wants freedom. If you choose the ego, you sink deeper into the trap of demonstrating, insisting, and seeking. If you choose reason, you learn to let go, to be silent, to stand firm, even in the midst of the void. Real strength is not in speaking louder or insisting more forcefully. It is in holding silence with dignity. Victory in the face of rejection is not achieved by conquering the other. It is achieved by conquering yourself. When you understand this, you will discover that no external indifference can bind you if you have already broken the chains that were born from your own ego. 7. Practice writing and conscious reflection exercises. The blank page is like a silent mirror that never judges. It only reflects what you carry within. While words get trapped in the mind and spin like an uncontrollable whirlwind, writing them down organizes them, gives them shape, and above all, takes away their power. Conscious reflection through writing is not a pastime. It is a tool for self-liberation. Because when someone ignores you, the greatest danger is not in what the other person does, but in the chaos that is unleashed within you. And that chaos needs a channel to transform into clarity. Rejection tends to inflate obsessive thoughts. You go over conversations again and again, look for signs in memories, build hypothetical scenarios of what could have been. This constant repetition is like a drop falling on the stone of your mind, wearing it down little by little. Stoicism offers an antidote: to take distance, to observe the facts with rationality, and to separate what is under your control from what is not. Writing then becomes a practical exercise of this principle, because by putting into words what you feel, you take it out of the diffuse darkness of emotion and bring it to the light of reason. This is not about filling pages with laments, it's about confronting yourself. Writing down exactly what happened, what the other person did, how you reacted, what you expected, and what you actually got. This exercise not only organizes the mind, it also unmasks illusions. Many times you discover that the wound does not come from what the person did, but from the expectation you created, and that recognition is liberating, because you cannot control the actions of others, but you can adjust what you expect from them. Conscious reflection goes hand in hand with writing. It is not enough to put down words, you have to analyze them. Seriously ask yourself, what does this silence teach? What does the way I react reveal about me? Am I acting from need or from strength? This internal dialogue is what distinguishes the one who sinks into obsession from the one who uses rejection as a springboard for growth. Applying this practice in daily life is simple, but requires discipline. Dedicate a few minutes each night to write about what you feel without filters. Then reread what you wrote and underline what does not depend on you. That part you must let go. Then mark what does depend on you and turn it into a task. Improve your discipline, strengthen your habits, cultivate your character. Thus, writing ceases to be passive venting and becomes a stoic action plan. In addition, writing conscious affirmations reinforces your inner value. Phrases like, "My dignity does not depend on anyone's attention," or "I am the master of my thoughts and my actions," are not simple repetitions. They are reminders that train your mind not to surrender to external validation. Each time you write them, you reprogram the way your brain interprets silence and rejection. Rejection is not overcome by ignoring the pain, it is overcome by transforming it. And writing is one of the most powerful ways to achieve this, because what is not written rots in the mind, but what is put into words is processed, understood, and left behind. In the end, conscious reflection is an act of bravery. It is looking at yourself without masks and recognizing both your wounds and your ability to heal them. With each word you write, you strengthen your clarity, reduce the power of the ego, and move towards a firmer version of yourself. 8. Transform rejection into redirection. The wind that closes a door doesn't always come to stop you. Often it blows to push you onto another path. Rejection works in the same way. It's not a definitive wall. It's a detour that signals you are investing your energy in the wrong place. What initially feels like a loss, when viewed clearly, becomes a compass. The pain is real, but so is the opportunity to redirect that force towards what does build you. When someone ignores you or moves away, the most common reaction is to cling on even harder. You convince yourself that insisting will open the closed door, but the truth is that you're only wasting energy fighting against the inevitable. Stoicism teaches that you should not fight against what is not under your control. If a person decides to withdraw, it's not your mission to retain them. It's your signal that you should look in another direction. There lies the difference between sinking into the wound or using it as a springboard. Transforming rejection into redirection doesn't mean denying what happened. It means giving it a different meaning. The silence of the other can be interpreted as emptiness, but also as free space to grow. That time you used to spend on messages and anxiety is now available to learn, work on yourself, and strengthen your spirit. Rejection ceases to be a condemnation when you understand that it's an invitation to rebuild yourself. In practice, this implies a firm decision. Every time your mind wants to return to the memory, redirect it towards a productive action. If you think about writing to them, write in your diary. If you catch yourself checking their profile, review your goals and evaluate how much you progressed today. If you feel the urge to seek their attention, strive to excel in something specific: your body, your mind, your projects. In this way, you turn every temptation to return to what ignores you into a step towards what strengthens you. Rejection also redirects your perception. It forces you to question what you were looking for and why you were doing it in that person. Perhaps you were pursuing validation, superficial companionship, or an illusion created by your own expectations. By realizing this, you understand that rejection is not a personal failure. It's a natural filter that frees you from continuing to feed something that was not going to grow. That revelation is harsh, but it's also the beginning of true freedom. The Stoic sees rejection as redirected destiny. He doesn't fight against the current. He learns to row where the river pushes him. That acceptance is not resignation, it's intelligence. Because when you stop spending energy on recovering what's gone, you discover how much you can advance in what has always been waiting for you, your own development. And that redirection not only changes your present, it changes the way you will face any future absence. Transforming rejection into redirection is turning the wound into a teacher. It means telling yourself, "You didn't stop me. You guided me to where I really needed to go." It's about being grateful, even though it hurts, because the other's silence became the voice that reminded you that your path cannot depend on anyone else. Life is full of detours, and each rejection is one of them. You can stay staring at the closed door until you wear yourself out, or you can turn around and discover that there are 10 more open. Stoicism teaches you to choose the latter, not to cling to what's gone, to walk towards what awaits you, because deep down, you weren't rejected. You were redirected towards a stronger and freer version of yourself. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment "I am Stoic" as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.